Hello, this is Arden Kirkland, and this is a screencast to teach you how to add your own data to images on Wikimedia Commons. This particular assignment is for costume history students, so that will be our focus. This assignment was inspired by a presentation by Eileen Fry and Jen Riley of Indiana University. For a little background, I highly recommend you take a look at their presentation, which you can download from the address that's in blue right now on the screen. But let's get started on our project. And so to get started, I just want to take another look at the image we began with. This is an image of the Hans Holbein painting, The Ambassadors, and it's available to the public on Wikimedia Commons. And that's really what Wikimedia Commons is all about, making images and other kinds of media that are either in the public domain or that have been uploaded by the person who has the copyright, and those kind of images are made available to the public, to users like us. Let's take a look at Wikimedia Commons. So if you go to commons.wikimedia.org, you'll come to the home page. Lots of interesting information there. And on the left here, if you click on Welcome, that's a welcome page that gives you a little bit more background about what Wikimedia Commons is all about, so you can take a look at that rather than me describing it to you now. So that's a little background. Now let's look around a little bit. So let's search for fashion and see what comes up. Lots comes up. There are 11,575 different files that come up that are connected to fashion in some way. But I don't just want images that have some mention of fashion in them. I want images that have been specifically and thoughtfully categorized as being fashion. So I'm going to click on Category Fashion, which is conveniently at the top. And here we are at the page for the category of fashion, and the first thing we see is that there are a lot of subcategories, sorted by century and by other kinds of themes, often themes that cover several different centuries, for example. We can narrow it down even further. Let's go into 16th century fashion. And here we see it's further sorted by decade. So you're starting to see that there's a hierarchy of different categories, and this is what helps to sort the images out. You can kind of think of it like a card catalog or an online catalog for books in the library, the way that they're sorted by different subject headings. It just helps to be able to find images for specific subjects. So here we have the decades, and then we also have some different terms, costume items that are specific to the 16th century. So now let's click on 1530s fashion to get even more specific. And here we finally now get to some images. So there are 84 files that have been categorized by users as representing 1530s fashion. Lots of interesting examples. And actually the first one that comes up here in the upper left is a close-up of the painting of the Ambassadors, which is the image that we started with. And if I scroll down, I'll find the full image. But what if I didn't? What if it didn't show up here? If I was looking for that specific painting, I could still search for it. So I can search on Ambassadors. And sure enough, a category comes up about ambassadors, but also the image that I want to work with is right here at the top, the full image of the painting. Now, this is important to think about because the images that we were looking at a minute ago, in fact, we can go back to them. These are images that have been uploaded by different users, and then either those original users or other users decided that they had something to say about 1530s fashion and chose to put them in that category. But there are probably plenty of other images in Wikimedia that represent fashion but that have not yet been categorized as such. So that's just one thing to think about with this assignment. You can definitely start with these images in the fashion category, and you'll find with most of them that they've been categorized under fashion, but they don't have a lot of notes that really specifically call attention to different costume details, and that's what you can really focus on. However, if you want to look for images that aren't already tagged as fashion, that can be really helpful too. You can add to this body of work. And I think that's the main thing to think about with this assignment. Think of Wikimedia Commons as a community that you are now going to be a part of and that you're going to contribute to. Other people, other users have already added content in the form of the images, in the form of some description, and now you're going to be added more content to it, and essentially becomes a conversation between you and the other users to really flesh out the content, the knowledge about these images, about these concepts. But now let's go back to our ambassador's image. And here I want to really specifically look at each image and the information that's available to it, the information that you can add to. So first you'll see when I move my mouse off of the image, I can see just the plain image itself. But if I scroll onto it, if I move my mouse over the image, these boxes start to appear, which have some notes that I've added. And as I move my mouse inside one of the boxes, a little note pops up with some description. In this case, these are descriptions that I've added, but I would be able to see multiple descriptions from multiple users if users had added it. If I scroll up here, I move into the box for the hat, and here's the little description of the flat cap. So those are called notes, and that's a really great way to annotate right on the image. And this is part of the way to think about this assignment is very similar to your Braun and Schneider assignment, where you're kind of diagramming the Braun and Schneider illustrations and adding terms to define what you're seeing in those illustrations. So those are called notes. And the way that you add those is with the Add a Note button here, but we'll talk about that more in the next screencast. But let's see what other kinds of data we have about this painting. Under Summary is where we're going to find most of the data. Here you'll see the first comment is in Spanish, and that's another great thing about Wikimedia. It's a global project, and so users from all different countries, speaking all different languages, contribute to it. But we do have a bunch of content that is in English, so we can understand it. Title and artist of the painting, other images that are related, a little description of who's in the painting, a link to the website for the museum that owns the painting. And this is another place that you can add more content. You can add more description. For example, you could say, the figure on the left is wearing such and such. The figure on the right is wearing such and such. That's another really useful way to add content. As we scroll down, we see information about the licensing, the fact that this is available because the original painting is in the public domain. Information about the upload of the file, links to other pages on Wikimedia Commons that share this file. And at the bottom, this is really the most important part for the purpose of this assignment. Here it lists categories that this image has been placed into. So we already know about 1530s fashion. That's part of how we came to it. If you understand the hierarchy, we don't see a category here for fashion or a category for 16th century fashion because 1530s fashion is within those categories. So that hierarchy, the full hierarchy isn't represented, just the kind of the bottom part of that. But we also, oh look, there's a category for lutes in art. And these two categories at the end are ones that I've added with specific costume terms, and that's the kind of thing that you can do. And so just to see how that works, now if I click on Simar, Now a category is coming up just for Samar. So also if I put in a search for Samar over here, I'm going to see my category and also the images that I've identified as being in that category. So then this is how Wikimedia can become really useful for a specific community. So for us as costume historians, we are adding content that is specific to our field that we can now search and share with other users and benefit from that knowledge. So that's your little introduction to how these images and how this data works. We'll end the screencast here and tune in for the next one in which I'll explain exactly how to do it, how to add the content yourself.